Hey guys, Rochelle here with Amethyst Ascension. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you so much for joining me again. So today I'm going to be doing a video. This is one that's been kind of like in the making for a couple of years now. And with the recent videos that I have seen with, talking about fake tarot readers and stuff like that, I wanted to finally, once and for all, just make this video. So, as I do this, I created a bunch of different questions because I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I'm going to tell you my thoughts, and I will be putting the questions down below, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it as well, being in the tarot community. So, the questions are you a real tarot reader? And while I do that, I'm going to go through the Bonestone and Earth Flesh Tarot because, it's summer and I've been going into the pool a lot, like I said in my last couple of videos. So you're probably not going to see me all summer. Maybe unless the weather gets, where I can't go in for a few days. Then maybe I'll wash my hair, okay? Just saying. So... The first question is, do you have to know all the book meanings to be a tarot reader, to be a real tarot reader? If so, what book meanings? So my thoughts on that are no, you do not have to know all of the meanings to be a real tarot reader. And the next question is going to answer that. I will say that I do think, in my own opinion, it is better to know the meanings. And I believe that somebody can be more objective if they know the meanings and that is their base. But I don't think that they have to know the meanings to be a true tarot reader. A real tarot reader. So the second question is, can you be an intuitive who uses the tarot cards and be considered a true tarot reader or a real tarot reader? So I'm going to say yes, as a technicality. If somebody is highly intuitive or even psychic and they're using this tool called the tarot, the 78 card tarot structure, in order to have, even if they don't know the meanings, have it speak through that. I do feel like that is still a tarot reader. Is it somebody that I would probably go to? Probably not. But do I think that they're still a real tarot reader? Well, yeah, because they're reading the tarot cards. So, yes. Do you have to be reading for others to be considered a real tarot reader? So let's say you only read for yourself and you have a personal tarot practice. If you only read for yourself solely, are you considered a real tarot reader? Well, my response to that is, absolutely, you're a tarot reader. You're using tarot cards to read for yourself, regardless of whether or not you're doing readings for other people. I feel like that is still a tarot reader. Still valid and real, true tarot reader. My opinion, of course. Question number 4. Do you have to be a professional reader to be considered a real tarot reader? Absolutely not. I have known people that are tarot readers that even read for other people and do not charge. The difference of being considered a professional is somebody that exchanges money or some sort of exchange for that tarot reading. Sorry. So I had a little coughing attack. So no, I do not think that you need to be a professional tarot reader in order to be considered a real, and I keep saying in quotes, real tarot reader. All right, so question number 5. Do you need to have a certification to be a real tarot reader? If so, who determines if you are certified? So that's another thing. If you do, which I do not believe that you need to be certified, but if you do think that a person needs to be certified, who does the certification for that? And how did that person get certified? And how did that person that got certified, how did the person that certified them before that, and that, and that, and that? You know what I mean? Like, how far back does that go? So, all right. Question number 6. Do you need to know the Golden Dawn symbolism or astrology or Kabalistic tree to be a tarot reader? To be a real tarot reader? Absolutely not. I don't think that you need to incorporate tarot, the Kabbalah, or astrology, or not tarot, astrology, or the tarot symbolism. Because the Golden Dawn was not the first tarot system, even though what we know as our tarot system in modern day RWS and Thoth, even though they were both members of the Golden Dawn, that's not the first tarot decks. The first tarot decks that we know of were ancient Italian, and they didn't have that same symbolism. And then Tarot de Marseille, which they didn't have the same, like, deacons and all that was associated with it. So, do I think that those things, personally, do I think that those things can enhance? Yeah, I absolutely do. I do think that that can enhance a tarot reading. However, I think only if you know those systems. If you don't know those systems and you're trying to incorporate those systems, it's not that I still don't think you're a real tarot reader. I just think that the readings can get more convoluted and confusing if you don't know every aspect of that layering. So, like, for instance, me, while I am trying to learn how to use different, like the Kabbalah, you know, although I have some basic understanding of how it works and might know what some of the associations are for some of the cards, I don't incorporate it into my readings because I don't feel like I am ready to incorporate those into my readings. If I didn't understand about astrology, and I'm still new, so it's something that I don't add quite as readily as I do like the meanings, because that is something that I'm more confident in. Obviously, to each their own, but I don't think that you need to have any of those systems. I don't need to know why this red cape. I mean, I can simply know the meanings, or I can use the cards as my, you know, showing me strength. Well, looks like she's got inner strength, regardless of all of the chaos that's going on around her. She has found her inner strength to be able to deal with, you know, what she needs to deal with in her life, right there. I don't even need to know the meaning of tarot when it's, like, right there for you, right? That's just like reading the card. And I'm using tarot as my vehicle. So, okay, so let's see. Question number 7. Do you have to know the history of tarot to be a real tarot reader? If so, what history? So, although I think if it's something that you are interested in, which is learning the history, we also know that history is written by the winners or the people that have good publicists. So does that mean that we always get the full history or know the entire history? Because there's different origin stories that people go back and forth with on, you know, the tarot, or, you know, because I definitely believe that it started in Egypt. Okay. Sorry about that. They wanted to you know, put their own 2 cents in there too. I personally believe that it started in Egypt. I believe in the law of one material, and the Ra group that was contacted, which are the same aliens from in the Egyptian times. I believe that a lot of the archetypes, or at least the major arcana archetypes, started via like the emerald tablets, okay? And or like history that was, you know, placed, or I mean archetypes that were put into effect in order to help humanity like evolve, help them to become more enlightened. And then later on, the minor arcana was added. People added that. But if I know the traditional history, it started in, you know, by the like Viscontis and Sforzas in Italy in what, the 14th century or 13th century, whatever, and then moved to France, and then yada, 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 right? Either way, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to know that in order to be a real tarot reader. Now, does it enrich? Possibly. So, I think it's nice to know your history, but, you know, people don't all agree on the same history, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So, the next question. Does having a smaller or larger collection determine if you are a better or worse or real tarot reader? And I think the answer to that also is no. It doesn't make one bit of difference. You know, I was talking with a friend earlier today for a few hours before I was able to record this, but I was telling her about, you know, these particular questions, and we were having this discussion. She's a tarot reader also. And I think we pretty much both agree that none of these things are indicative of what a good tarot reader is. You can have a large collection and be a phenomenal reader. You can have a very small collection, maybe one or two, and be a phenomenal tarot reader. Or you can have a very small, you know, collection, one or two decks, and be reading for 30 years and not be really that great of a tarot reader. And same with having a collector, being a collector. Just because you read the tarot doesn't mean that you're fantastic at it. But does that mean that you are a real tarot reader? Yes, you are a real tarot reader, in my opinion. Okay, so the next question. Do you have to read reversals to be considered a real tarot reader? Nope. You do not have to read reversals, in my opinion, to be a real tarot reader. And you can read reversals and be a phenomenal tarot reader, and you can not read reversals and be a phenomenal tarot reader, and you can read reversals and be a crappy tarot reader and not read reversals and be a crappy tarot reader. Do you see where I'm going with this? This is my opinion, obviously, but I don't think that that also determines whether somebody is a good tarot reader. And what determines like this fake? When somebody says fake tarot reader, do they mean good tarot reader or bad tarot reader? Because that is also a matter of perception. There are, 7 point blah, blah, blah billion people on this earth. Not everybody is going to mesh up with somebody's style. It's about finding the right tarot reader for you. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the next question is, do you have to use certain techniques or customs to be considered a real tarot reader, i.e., be gifted your first deck, shuffle a certain way, or use certain spreads or no spreads? Here again, I'm at this, nope. None of the above. None of that determines whether or not you are a real tarot reader or even a good tarot reader. Now, personally, I prefer a spread, okay? Because I see so many things in the cards that it helps me corral the energy that I'm picking up, corral the different paths that I'm seeing in the cards. However, I also like to just throw cards down and see what stories they are telling me. Okay? Both are correct. Both are being a tarot reader. It's just different flavors of it. Do you have to be gifted your first deck? Absolutely not. No, you don't. Does that mean you can't learn how to read cards or you can't use cards because your first one wasn't gifted to you? Yeah, that's just gatekeeping because those people don't want to give the cards out to anybody. They don't want more people reading the cards, right? Okay. So, do you have to shuffle your cards a certain way? No. I've seen, there was talk about how if they fly out. Well, that's how I prefer it. I don't feel like I shuffle like all crazy and stuff in order for them to fly out. That's why sometimes it takes forever. And in those situations, I will pick like another, way of doing it. Maybe like split them or just whatever I feel in the moment, But most generally, I like to say that I like to shuffle them and have my higher self pick out the card and throw it down for me, and I know that that's the right card. But sometimes that can take a long time, and if you're doing fast readings, that's just not feasible sometimes, because it could take forever, because I'm not just like doing them crazy. Do I think that that's any less significant of a real tarot reader, depending on how they shuffle their cards, whether or not they riffle shuffle, whether or not they're getting, pulling off the top, whether or not they're splitting them into piles, whether or not they're having the querent to touch them, and blah, blah, blah. None of that has anything to do with, in my opinion, being a real tarot reader. It's just, that's ridiculous to me. All right, so the next question is, do you need to read a certain way to be considered a real tarot reader? Meaning, do you have to be a psychic to be a tarot reader? Do you have to only read with divine communication or your higher self connection? Or do you have to only know the meanings like psychological, using like psychology? Or do you have to be a predictive reader in order to be a real tarot reader? Yet again, I'm saying all of the above. No, you don't. You can do all of those. Or you can just simply know the meanings and read the cards. Or you can be somebody that has a highly intuitive or psychic abilities and using the cards as your tool. I still consider that a tarot reader. A different kind of tarot reader, but still a tarot reader because they are using the tarot cards, the 78 card structure, in order to read. So that's my opinion. Number 12. Can you refer to your guidebook and still be considered a real tarot reader? And I also say absolutely. Now, here's the thing. It depends on what kind of readings that I'm doing. If I am reading for myself, which is like the majority of the readings that I do are for myself, for like spiritual evolution and, working through my own psyche and self-help stuff and personal empowerment, stuff like that, right? Doing shadow work, yada, yada, yada. You get where I'm going here. And I love, depending on what deck I'm using, to read also out of the book, almost like bibliomancy, seeing what the actual creator of the deck, what their spin is on what, my reading is. Most generally, I'll read it first and get my own interpretation, and then I will pick up the book and read more in order to get my thoughts out of it, okay? So, can you still be a real tarot reader if you are referring to your book? Absolutely. Especially when you get tarot decks that are so just jam-packed full of different stuff, like the Spirit Keepers, that has I Ching, and it has the deacons, it has astrological stuff, it has like spell work right in the deck. So, and different cultures. And so if you want to pick up and read what she had to say about the reason why she did that particular card that way, and get even more meaning from it, or like if you see like 555 or 888 or something like that and you get more out of it, yeah, definitely. I think you're still a real tarot reader. Now, if I'm reading for another person, I most generally would not, grab my guidebook. But you never know. It depends on who the person I'm reading for is. Maybe they want to hear it as well. So, in a professional, quick reading, probably not. But I still don't think that makes a difference of whether or not you're truly a real tarot reader. Now, question 13. Is reading with only playing cards, Lenormand, oracle cards, or Kipper, or any other cards that are not the tarot system, does that mean that you are a real tarot reader? Sorry. He's always got something to say. That's my Oliver baby. So that's the one thing I'm going to say in my own personal opinion, that is not a tarot reader. Because I look at tarot like it is the 78. Even if you are reading with just the major arcana, okay? That's fine. But for me, that still doesn't feel like a true tarot experience, just because I see tarot like it is a system. Now, if somebody uses those other decks in conjunction with the actual tarot, then I'd say that yes, they are a real tarot reader. But if they don't ever read the tarot, period, is my question, and they use playing cards, Lenormand, oracle cards, or Kipper, or any other system that's not, my equivalent to that is somebody that says that they're an I Ching reader because they know astrology. They're two different systems. You see what I'm saying? So, all right. So that to me is no. Incorporating those things along with tarot, yeah, of course they're still a tarot reader. And 14, the last question. What denotes a real tarot reader to you? Very simple. Somebody that uses the 78 tarot card archetypes, 78 tarot archetype cards, uses those cards in order to get messages. Whether they use it in reverse, doesn't matter. The deck that they use doesn't matter as long as it is the tarot. It can be Tarot de Marseille. It can be Tarot, Thoth Tarot. It can be RWS, as long as it is the 78 tarot. And let me just say, even the earlier decks that were not the full tarot, they were like Taroki or whatever, I don't consider that tarot either. That's not the tarot that we use to read with. I consider those like earlier forms of what became tarot. So even just like all the major arcana, just the major arcana alone, I have said before, unless I can get a full shuffle, and that's why shuffling the cards is so important to me, unless I feel like I can shuffle all of the cards so that my message is based on all 78 cards, the chances of all 78 cards. That's just like doing the lottery and doing a spin, and there's supposed to be 78 balls, but a couple of them are missing, or half of the deck is missing. It's not a true lottery. So it's got to be, in my opinion, and, that's what I think a real tarot reader is. My preference of what I would want in a tarot reader is completely different than what I think a real tarot reader is. And that's the distinction. So I would love to see your guys' responses to this, and they don't have to be my responses. Of course, I love to hear what you guys think. And whether or not you think that that is a preference or whether or not you think it is a fact. Okay? So I will be putting all 14 prompts down below. And I don't even know what kind of hashtag. Maybe hashtag realtarotreaders, you know, if you want to respond to this. So thank you so much, and I am sending you love always.